Sup? Welcome to the Tedeschi Trucks podcast. This is episode number 27, and I am Adam Choate. To follow this show, it's at Tedeschi Trucks podcast on Instagram, and I'm at Adam Choate on Instagram as well if you want to follow me. And of course, I have no affiliation with TTB. This is not an official podcast. I am just a fan. And I'm guessing if you're listening to this, there's a good chance that you might be too. So be sure to subscribe and give the show a positive review on iTunes. Doing those things is definitely helpful. So, today's guest is musician Quinn Sullivan. Born and raised in New Bedford, Massachusetts, it was clear from an early age that music was his thing. Enthralled by the Beatles, he first started playing a toy guitar he got for Christmas before he was even in kindergarten. Soon he got super into Buddy Guy's music, and as a crazy advanced player himself, even got to play with Buddy on stage when he was like 8. Singer-songwriter guitar player Quinn is still a super young guy, but his musical journey has crossed paths with many greats, including Derek and Susan, who he just adores. Before we get started, just a heads up, for whatever reason on my end, there's a bit of crackling and some occasional echo. I don't know why. Must have been the connection on Zoom or something. But everything in this interview is quite audible and shouldn't pose much of a listening issue for you. Anyway, let's just get into this one. Here's Quinn Sullivan. So it's good to see you today, Quinn Sullivan. Thank you for joining me on the Zoom here.
Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
Oh, how you holding up? You're in Boston. You're in New England. Where are you right now during this crazy 2020?
Yeah. I'm in New Bedford, Massachusetts. Yeah, New Bedford. That's my hometown, and born and raised here, and I've lived here pretty much my whole life. So yeah, I'm home right now. Yeah.
That's an easy transition. Why don't we get into your life? And I've heard some previous interviews with you and read some stuff, and it just sounds like music's always been a part of your life, and at a very young age. The Beatles were a big part of your life, and your parents' influence. But I'll let you tell your stories. What are the earliest memories you got?
My earliest memories of music in general was just being around the house, just listening to various different albums. You know, my parents had a ton of records that they would be spinning around the house, and you know, a lot of it was the Beatles and the Grateful Dead, and a lot of different things. You know, the Allman Brothers Band, you know, Santana. So like I would be kind of exposed to a bunch of different styles of music. And yeah, they just really just exposed all of that to me when I was like 2.5, 3. And I remember we had this big stereo system, and I had these big headphones, and I would just go to town for like hours on end and just listen to stuff, and they would just put on stuff for me. But yeah, I mean, it kind of became a thing where I would just be obsessed with it all the time, and really had no other major interests. You know, I was really you know, super into music and all of that. So that was like the earliest memories that I have. And then
I was going to ask, were your parents musicians at all? Did they play any instruments?
Yeah, my dad plays a little bit of drums. Yeah, he plays drums, and my mom doesn't play anything. But yeah, my dad's a drummer. So he had, you know, obviously a lot of, you know, a lot of like the reason why I love music so much is because of him, and you know, everything that he would play for me around the house, you know.
That's cool. And when did the guitar become a thing? That must have come pretty early as well.
Yeah, the guitar was kind of something that it came you know, they kind of wanted to see what I could do with it, I guess, you know, because I don't know if I had asked for one. I may have asked for one. I forget if it was like I said, hey, I want a guitar. But I think it was like the third or fourth Christmas, and they bought me like a little toy guitar. It was called the First Act guitar. And it was just like this acoustic guitar, and I kind of just took it and ran with it. I really just was totally into it right from the get-go, and I would just immerse myself into it. I didn't really know how to play it. I just kind of was strumming it and just seeing what I could do with it. And I had this teacher. His name is Brian Cass, and I would go see him every Monday night, and this was like probably during when I was starting like kindergarten. So I was in school during the day, and yeah, I would go to these lessons every week, and I would always want him to teach me Beatles songs because I was really a huge Beatles fanatic at that age. I still am, but definitely at that point I was really just listening to a lot of Beatles stuff. And he would teach me stuff like Blackbird and Mother Nature's Son, and and this was after that. I would, after he taught me like the basic chords and stuff, he would eventually start teaching me actual songs. So yeah, that was kind of the beginning of all of it.
What do you remember about even before the lessons? Were you able to teach yourself anything on your own? Did you show inclination or to have ability or skill? Were you able to teach even yourself at like age 4 or 5, like learn on your own?
Yeah, I did actually. Yeah, I always kind of had a natural inkling for it. Like I always was able to strum it correctly, and I never had like a lot of people have when they start playing, they have they have trouble because it hurts at first a bit. Your fingers kind of aren't used to that friction, so naturally you'll get sore after a while of doing it. But no, I was I kind of was I wouldn't some people say, oh, he's a natural or something like that. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I want to go as far as say I was completely naturally taught, self-taught. But definitely, I was able to pick it up quickly. I was able to pick things up and learn how to definitely. I had the approach, of it. It was just a matter of getting the chords out and getting the phrasing out and all of that I was later taught how to do. But yeah, the initial thing was just kind of natural for me. Yeah.
That's cool. What about when you did start taking lessons? You sounded like you were learning some chords and phrasing already. It's like,
yeah,
it's crazy to think about it. At 5 years old already getting into like intermediate advanced level playing, basically.
Yeah. I was really, I kind of, I learned quickly. And like I said, I didn't really have many other interests at that time in my life. So I was really, and that's, it's funny because a lot of, younger kids will kind of come up to me now and ask me for advice. And, I'll kind of say, like, or their parents anyways will come up to me and ask me, if their kid is like, sometimes they're like 3 or 4 and they'll come up to me at shows and they'll be like, what do I do? How do I get a guitar in my kid's hands? Like, how do I do it? And it's like, you kind of can't force anything on anybody. You kind of have to let them take hold of it and put their own thing on it, because any sort of like forced practice thing, I don't think it that's the thing about my parents, is they never forced me to practice. I always took it upon myself to do it because I had just so much interest and love for it. So that's what I always say to the parents. I'm just like, just let them do their thing, and if they continue doing it, great. If they don't, then don't pressure them to do anything.
Yeah, I know that in your journey, it's going to get crazy like fairly soon with you meeting Buddy Guy and playing on TV and all this stuff. But what do you remember like in between the time when you first started lessons, to the point where you started having these crazy musical experiences? What were you playing? What were you learning? What music were you listening to? Like 5, 6, 7, like 8 years old, I guess.
Well, at that time, my dad had put on this DVD it's a show called Crossroads Guitar Festival, which most guitar players in the world know that this is a very huge festival.
It has come up on this podcast.
Oh, I'm sure it has. Yeah. It's one of the coolest festivals for any guitar player. I mean, any musician, but especially it's geared obviously towards guitar. So there's the best of the best come to this festival and play. For people that don't know about this, it's just this really cool festival that Eric Clapton puts on. And he and my dad shared with me the first Crossroads Guitar Festival DVD, and it was in Dallas. It was from the Dallas, Texas one, first one in 2004. And I was, and yeah, he showed it to me when I was like, I guess 6, 7. And I was watching it and I was just blown away. I was just like mesmerized. And this was all at the same time that I was still really heavily into the Beatles, which, obviously Eric Clapton and the Beatles, he obviously has a lot in common. I mean, they obviously were friends and did a lot of stuff together on record. but he would play that for me, and I would just watch it and just be totally blown away. And I saw Buddy Guy come on stage, and I was just like, oh my God, who is this? Like, I need to find out right away who this guy is. And I don't know what it was. It was, I think it was just the way his style and his charisma, and like the way he was acting on stage. He was just so commanding and so, just super engaging right away. Like he just has such a presence about him. And I remember seeing him play and just being like totally blown away. And about a year after that, we found out that he was coming to my hometown, which is New Bedford, Massachusetts. And I totally wanted to go and just maybe meet him. I didn't know I was going to meet him, or never mind play with him, but I just wanted to go and see him play in person, because I had just been like so like, freaked out at his performance. It was just incredible. So we ended up getting to go to that, and found ourselves backstage. And the reason how we were going to get back is because my dad had known some of the people at the theater, so we were able to get backstage and go meet him. And it was remember I walked back and I had my little Squire Fender Strat with me. I had a polka dot tie on. I had the whole thing. I had the suit. Yeah, Buddy's thing is polka dots. That's his trademark. So immediately he looked at me and he was just like, "Oh yeah, man, that's so cool." And he was just such a nice guy and super sweet. And he ended up that night, calling me out on stage, and I was able to play with him, and really began a very cool, interesting journey for me, after that night.
Wow. Yeah. That must've been insane, but it must've been more than just your dad knowing the people who work at the venue. You must've had a reputation around your town at this point as something of a skilled guitarist at such a young age. So, and Buddy must've caught wind of this perhaps in advance or something like that. This couldn't have been all spontaneous.
Yeah, well, it kind of that part of it was, but yeah, around my area was I had gone on Ellen the year prior to that, so I
Right.
was a local, I guess you'd call it like a local celebrity kind of deal.
Sure.
Like everybody was, my whole school was freaking out that I was going on Ellen. And she hadn't been a thing. She had only been a thing for, I think, a few years. I don't think she was really, she was just like starting to get popular, and she hadn't had many kids on prior to me going on. I think I was probably the first kid guitar player that went on her show.
Wow.
Yeah, I think I was one of the first. She might have had someone on before, but I think I maybe was one of the first ones that got to do it. And that was when YouTube was like starting to become a thing too. So the video blew up online, and the video of me playing on Ellen blew up. And
yeah, I've seen all these videos, of course.
yeah, a lot of people will come up to me and go, and I owe a lot to her, because she kind of gave me a platform at a very early age of being able to go on the show, and eventually it was on YouTube, and people saw it and kind of identified me with like, oh, the kid that was on Ellen. I got that was my tag for like years, like,
right.
oh,
But also, yeah, those fans stick though. A lot of them I'm sure stick over the years.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And people still come up to me at shows and say that I've been, it's either I've been following you since Buddy, or I've been following you since Ellen. So, those two people I owe a lot to, for sure. Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to ask like the same question about two things, so we might as well just answer it about Buddy Guy. But do you ever get like starstruck or nervous in front of, like, what was it like playing with Buddy Guy, like on like an emotional level, or on like how do you stay in the moment, I guess, or something like that?
Well, when I was a kid, I guess it became, the answer to that would be that it became more emotional as the years went on. It became, I understood things more as I get older. But as I was getting older, because when I was a kid, I really didn't really know everything that Buddy had done, because
right, how could you?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. So it took me a few years to kind of understand what this man had done, and the records that he had been on, and the people that he had influenced. Because I knew the Hendrix connection, I knew the Eric Clapton connection, but I didn't really know the everybody else that he had influenced over the years. So it was a really special thing to it was cool because he ended up asking me to play on his album Skin Deep, and that was only the third time of meeting him. I sat in with him somewhere, and before the show he had asked me to play on his album, and I was just like, what? I'm 9 years old.
Yeah, wow.
He took a liking to me, though. He really did. And it was a really super, super special kind of once in a lifetime opportunity, and, really genuine thing. And, but yeah, as I was saying, like, so, as I would get to play with him more, he started asking me to come on tour with him and open some shows. And at this point I was in like sixth or seventh grade. So I was still going to school, but during the summer, he would ask me to play and with him on tour and open some shows. So at that time I was getting to know his history more, and I was reading up on him, and and the more time I'd spend with him, the more stories I'd hear, from backstage, and him talking about all of his experiences and on the road, and his, all of the life lessons that sort of get dropped on you, subconsciously. Is just all of these things that he says. And there's never any people always ask me, like, well, what advice has he given you? And it's really nothing. Like, he doesn't say, like, blatantly, like, oh, I'm going to give you some advice right now, like, listen up. Like, it's not like that. It was more naturally over the years, you just develop things that he taught you, subconsciously. Like, you don't really know that he's giving you a lesson until like a few months later, and something happens and you're like, oh, I remember when Buddy said that, and that totally, has everything to do with what's happening right now. So yeah,
that's just all incredible stuff for real. I mean, is it also just observing Buddy and just like seeing him and just sort of imitating his habits? Is that even part of what you learned from him over the years?
It's all of it. It's pretty much like, we were getting to a point where we were pretty much living with him for a lot of the year, and touring with him, being on the road with him, and being on the same, he'd take me on his, we would be on the bus with him, and we would be flying everywhere with him and stuff, and the band and the crew. So so it was like my extended family. I would those guys all became very, very, very close to me, and yeah, I think it's just being around him so much, and just seeing how he treats people, and seeing how he just the way about him, he's very he's an open book, he's very open with everything too. He's very very transparent. He doesn't leave anything to spare. He's very he loves routine, and he has a very strict regimen that he does, and that's it, and but it works, and it's worked for him for years. So I totally get it, and respect it. It's awesome.
What's something on that regimen? Is something specific? Wake up and play guitar at 6 a.m. every day. Eat avocados every other day. Like, what is there anything that you remember?
He's an early riser. So when we were on the road with him, we would be waking up in the middle of the night to go 3 hours up the street, or whatever. Like, even if it was like an 8-hour drive or a 5-hour drive or a 3-hour drive, we'd still be leaving at 4 or 5 in the morning. So he has a very strict schedule, and he likes to keep it like that. And he likes to get to where he's at around noon, so he can take a nap for hours, and then probably wake up around 6, and then get ready for the show, and his manager comes to pick him up at around 7, depending on sometimes the shows would be at 9, 8, 7, whatever, and take him to the venue, and plays, gets off stage. They have his food ready to go, and he gets in his car, or the runner picks him up, brings him back to the hotel, he eats, goes to bed, repeat. So that was like the schedule. And when that's the boss's schedule, you just follow what the boss is doing.
Did you take as many naps as he did, or
Yeah.
he's got a few years on you, just a couple?
Yeah, I'm not much of a napper, although when I'm on tour, it definitely helps when you're like 7-8 days, or not, 2 or 3 weeks in, and you're really just exhausted. It definitely does help that even if you get an hour or two just to lay down for a second, because it can get pretty crazy and overwhelming sometimes. So you definitely have to pace yourself right, and get enough sleep in, because that's definitely a big part of touring is sleep.
For sure. It sounds like you did so many shows with Buddy over the years, and you're starting at age 8, basically, when you did that the first show, in your hometown. When was the last show you've done, like, with him opening, performing, or whatever? And you just kind of done it. Has it been like kind of on and off over the years as you've worked on your own stuff?
Yeah, it's been on and off, because I've also had my own thing happening too, and with playing my own shows, and more than ever of the last couple of years, I've really have started to come into more of my own self as an artist, and I've really I've done a lot of writing, and a lot of writing and recording and stuff on my own. So so that's been really cool, and very it's been great. It's been awesome. The last tour that I did with him was 2018, I think. Like the end of 2018 was like the last real huge tour. We did some stuff on and off in 2019 too. We did I sat in with him a few times, but nothing, no major tours. But yeah, it was
you played with him almost every year, like, since you've known him, basically.
Probably, 9 or 10 touring with him every year. Yeah,
that's incredible. Like every year you've done at least some amount of shows with Buddy Guy.
Yeah. Obviously, besides this year, but
oh yeah, that's true for sure. Tell me more about, like, your music and, like, your journey as an artist, and how do you feel that you've, like, grown vocally or as a guitar player, over the years, from your early teens till the present?
Yeah.
Whatever.
I was brought onto the music scene through Buddy. So, everybody that has seen me over the years play with him, they were under the impression that I was going to be, the blues savior and the next blues star and the next,
Well, that's fair. That's not too much to put on you.
Yeah, right. I never ever saw myself as that. I never saw myself as just, I saw blues as an influence, but I never saw it as a career path. I never really started as something that I would truly be able to carry on myself and do. Frankly, I think there's a lot of other guitar players that would probably do it more justice than I could ever do it, and I've just been influenced by so many other different kinds of music since I was a little kid, that I'm finally really able to showcase now, through writing and through working with different producers and different people and stuff like that. So I feel like now I really I'm starting to come into, like, my own self as an artist, on really how I want to define myself and really who I want to be. But I'm sure that'll evolve, and I'm sure in 10 years or even 5 years it'll be a different thing. Because that's what's really nice about music, is you kind of just evolve. And some of my favorite artists throughout my learning about different artists and stuff and people that I admire a lot, like, they kind of never stuck to one thing. They just kind of did whatever that was moving them and inspiring them at that given moment. That's why I loved the bands like the Beatles so much, because every record pretty much sounds different than the last, and they were able to do that, but still be cohesive, but still be able to showcase whatever they were listening to at that given time. So it's really what I want to do. And kind of the goal that I have as an artist is to just always be super open to learning, having new sounds on my albums and just really being open to all of that. Yeah.
What are some new sounds, like even on guitar, or some new techniques or abilities that you've sort of picked up maybe in the recent years? Some guitar inside baseball stuff.
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, when I listen to old soul singers and even obviously the rock too, but just kind of the human voice to me is something that I think as a guitarist, I think if you can emulate the human voice, I think, because those are my favorite kinds of guitar players are
I think that's a perfect transition into a certain guitar player who plays in a certain 12-piece band.
Yes, you're correct. Yeah. Yeah. And I think if you can do that, I think if you have the power to do that and be able to be a force of that, I think that's just the biggest compliment that I think, and I feel like most guitarists would probably agree with me. The biggest compliment you can get is saying that you're able to emulate the human voice, and obviously, and that's I think it's a perfect segue into Derek Trucks, who I admire so much, and I'm deeply influenced by, and I think he's like the number one guy of that, of being able to do that.
When did you first discover Derek Trucks music, or TTB, or Susan? Was it Derek playing with the Allman Brothers or something like that?
I think, wow, when was the first time I ever saw? I think it must have been. When was it? Well, I had seen the Allman Brothers. My dad had taken me to see the Allman Brothers when I was a little kid. And they came to Great Woods, which is now the Comcast Center, but it used to be called Great Woods back in the day. And I saw them play, but I think the first real time that I got to see him play, even before that, was on Crossroads. Was on the Crossroads Guitar Festival DVD. Which I think was the 2007 one, because 2007 was when Skin Deep came out, which was the album that I was on, with the Buddy Guy album that I was on, and Derek and Susan were guests on that. So I was able to find out who they were, I think, through that, and see, and at the same time they were doing the Crossroads thing. So I was,
you're finding out about them through work, basically.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Yeah, really, seriously. And I got to meet, I met them when I was super young. I met Derek first. I met Derek, I believe, when he was the first time I ever met Derek was actually, I think I was probably around 8, and he was touring with Carlos Santana, actually, and he was opening his band. The Derek Trucks band was opening for Santana, and they came to Boston. I think there's an arena at near Boston University, and we went to go. It wasn't the TD Garden; it was another arena, kind of like that. It was a little bit smaller. And I remember I was eating dinner with my family because we were all going together and stuff. And me and my dad had taken a walk back over to the venue, and we saw a bunch of the tour buses and stuff. And we saw Derek's keyboard player, who was Kofi Burbridge.
Right, of course.
And he was standing outside of the bus, and I remember, I think my dad had said, like, "Oh, is Derek in there?" Whatever. Like, we had never met him before. I don't think he had known who I was at that time. And he came out. He ended up going to get him, and he ended up coming out. And Derek was just so nice, and just so humble, and just really sweet guy. And I'll always remember that, and I still have the picture somewhere in my records, somewhere in the. I got the picture of us for the first time. But yeah, it was a really awesome moment for me. It was meeting one of my heroes, and truly an amazing opportunity. And over the years, I've gotten to play with both Derek and Susan, and gotten to hang out with them numerous times and over the years at just various different places. We were in another really cool moment. I remember we were playing Montreux Jazz Festival with them. It was me and Buddy, and they were opening for Buddy at the festival. And I remember Derek. I was talking to Derek, or I was talking to Susan, and Derek came out of the room, and we were just talking about. I forget what we were talking about. This is going back about 5 or 6 years ago. And I think Derek had just randomly asked me when my birthday was, and I had said my birthday's on March 26th, and he said, "Oh, it's wicked funny you say that, because that was the day that the Allman Brothers Band became the Allman Brothers Band. It was on March 26th, 1969."
Wow.
So, wow, like that's crazy, and it was just such a freaky moment, because I wasn't really. It was kind of a off the cuff thing to ask me, but like it was just it was really cool though, because I had no idea that was the day that they became a band. So it was just a great memory that I have. It's really cool.
random memories for sure. I was at the show that you did with Derek and Susan and others at the BB King tribute show. Do you remember that?
Yeah,
in LA.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about that. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I remember I got asked to do that. I was able to go on Conan at the same week too. I was on Conan, and I sat in with Jimmy Vivino and the guys, because Jimmy
they
Vivino,
were the house band, right, for the BB King
house band. So I had gone on Conan the day before, and that was awesome. But that was like such a great show. So much love in the air that night. That was really cool. I thought the Grammy Foundation, they did a great job with that. It was really cool. Yeah.
That was an awesome show to be at. I can't even believe I was like there. You guys were all rocking out, jamming on Thrill Is Gone and When Love Comes to Town, like a big finale. That was just an unbelievable tribute, for sure.
That was fun. Yeah, totally, man.
And what about some recent memories in the last 3-4 years that jump out at you? Is it the constant touring or something from tours that jumps out at you as a musician that's a highlight, or is it meeting other people, the albums? Is it all of it?
Oh man. I've just been really, really thankful to have had really incredible opportunities and experiences that I'll hold on to for the rest of my life. And I think with this whole COVID thing that's been happening in the recent months, I mean, really it's given me a lot of time to just think about everything for a second, and just kind of have some just reflect on some of what I've been able to do, because it's been nonstop for a long time. I was talking to somebody the other day about it, and I was like, I haven't stopped touring or stopped playing since I was 9. Like that was the last time that I was like truly home for an entire year. Like I've been just touring and in a different city, 6 or 7 months out of the year for about a decade. So, it's felt weird this year just not to be doing shows and to be playing and stuff. So it's given me a lot of time to think about stuff. But I've been staying active. I've been playing a lot, and I've been, listening to, different, I try to listen to new music all the time, and always try to stay hip to what, what's current and what's cool right now and stuff. So I've just been doing a lot of that.
When you say current and cool, are you talking about top 40 radio, or are you talking about in sort of the blues, soul, who's the up and coming people in sort of that music?
I mean, honestly, a little bit of both. I do listen to some of the top 40 stuff. Very rarely do I really love it. It really has to be I've really been digging into Billie Eilish lately, and her brother Phineas a lot. I think they're a really cool duo, and I think the songwriting's incredible, and I'm huge fans of theirs. But Yeah, not too much top 40. I mean, I'm more into I'm more kind of into like the, soul and singer songwriter and folk and rock and blues and that whole genre.
Sure.
Those.
Me too.
Yeah, a lot more obviously. Um, yeah, I mean, I love like Marcus King. I think he's incredible. I'm a huge fan of like Eric Krasno, and I've gotten to know him really well over the last few years and stuff. So, just a lot of the newer guitar guys that are coming out are super awesome. But yeah, those are the ones offhand that I've been really digging into a lot lately.
What about doing shows with Tedeschi Trucks Band once things hopefully open up in the not too distant future, next year or whenever?
That would be such a dream. I would love to. I've never done a show. I've never done like an opening show for them before. It would be a dream come true for me to do something like that sometime. That'd be amazing. Yeah, hopefully. Yeah.
Is that something you're actively trying to do? Because I talked to Ori Naftali from Southern Avenue. I don't know if you know them. Yeah, and he was saying you just sort of apply. I don't know if it's through. I'm sure it's through management and through representation, or whatever. But like you just sort of put your name on the list, so to speak.
Oh yeah. No, I haven't actively tried to do it. We've talked about it before. Susan's kind of made some offhand comments about doing some stuff at some point and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, who knows what the future holds, but once we can get back to touring, that would be incredible. Yeah.
Yeah, just a show or any kind of show, music show is like a step in that direction. One step at it, one step at a time.
Yes,
I guess for sure. Anything else you want to share or talk about? I'll give you the floor. You could plug or promote whatever you're working. I know you got a new album coming out next year, but any other memories, thoughts about TTB, Derek, Susan, and I'll kind of like let you do your thing.
Yeah, let me think of. I'll talk. I guess I'll talk about one more cool memory. This wasn't the Tedeschi Trucks Band show, but this was a really amazing. I got to go to the last Allman Brothers show at the Beacon that they ever played, and it was really truly one of the greatest nights, musically I've ever experienced in my life. It was really. It was emotional. It was. There was like 1,000 different emotions happening that night with the whole entire room, and everybody was just, laughing and crying and smiles everywhere. It was a really beautiful evening. And I remember, cause I had gone to a few of the Beacon shows over the years. I've got to catch some of them. And every single one of them were all awesome. But this one was really special because they played 3 sets. They did the first set, came off, did the second set, and we thought they were done. And then they came out again and they opened with Melissa on the third set. It was just a ridiculous, like they probably played like 35, 40 songs that night. It was just ridiculous. Everybody just thought they were going to play like all night. It was just a really amazing night. And I got to go backstage that night and hang out with Derek, and I got to hang out with Warren a little bit. And first time I had met Greg Allman was at I got to play Crossroads with Buddy in 2013, and he brought me to that in New York at Madison Square Garden. And I had met Greg Allman and briefly at that show, but I met him again at the Beacon show, and it was just it's a crazy night. I think everybody was just like couldn't believe that it was the last show and all of that. So definitely a heavy evening, but it was just a great memory of Derek and Warren and all of those guys. It was just, they were all in great spirit and everybody was just playing their asses off. It was just a really cool night of music. So
you ever pinch yourself, to wake up or something, how do you like, it's like you've had all these crazy experiences. Does it even seem real, or is it just, it's your reality, whatever your reality is, that's the reality?
Yeah. It should never, I think it should never feel real. Throughout my whole life, as as I get more involved in this business. It should never really feel totally normal, because it won't. It never has. You definitely get more comfortable though, because like I remember when I was a kid, like I would get so nervous, and I'd be like very shy, whatever. But now I've been able to be more open, like just as you get to know these people more, and especially with Derek and Susan and all those guys, as you get to know them, they're very, very normal people, just like I am. So there's really not much mystique about them after a while, and as you get to know them more, they're just regular people. But yeah, I mean, there's always moments where like you're hanging out and you're with all these people, and you're just like, I don't belong here right now. What's a 21-year-old kid doing here right now? So yeah, it'll always happen, where I'm just like, holy shit.
Yeah, it's a healthy balance between I belong here and holy shit.
Yes,
for sure, and appreciating everything. Sounds like you appreciate everything about your journey.
Yeah, I definitely do. Yeah, it's been a crazy one, but and there's been a lot of ups and there's been a lot of downs, but you kind of make up for it with whatever you're working on musically. You put that into writing, and put that into your playing and your singing, and it all ends up, the most valuable lesson is it always ends up being okay after at the end of the day. It always ends up, things always resolve and get better.
I hope so.
Everything going on right now, I don't know if that statement works in that.
Generally speaking, I know you're talking about your personal journey. What would you be doing if you weren't playing music, if you weren't a guitar player, weren't a singer-songwriter? What would you be doing with your life and career?
I would probably, I think music would always be a part of my life, whether I was a musician or not, just because my parents love it so much, and it's always been a big part of, not even just with my parents, but my whole family. Like we're just all very big music fans and listeners. So I think I would be doing something in that field, whether it was maybe going to college to pursue, teaching and become a music teacher maybe, or, in some ways just getting it out there to people. I would be lying to you if I said I wanted to be like a doctor or anything like that, or a lawyer. I would never really be able to probably do that. That was never part of the equation for me.
I don't think for me either. You don't have to feel bad about that one. Cool, but I definitely, I definitely appreciate your time and the stories, such great stories about your music and your life. And again, thank you. Why don't you tell people where they can find and follow you? Anything else you're working on? I'll give you the floor here.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm currently working on a new album that I wish I could talk more about, but I really can't right now. But everyone will know about it soon. And
I like this vagueness. Being vague is good. It's more mysterious.
Yeah, well, I wish I would get in trouble if I talked about it.
Generating intrigue.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a new project that means so much to me, and I'm so excited for people to hear new music. It's been a great, really nice couple of years of really zoning in on writing and recording and stuff. So yeah, I'm really excited about it. But yeah, hopefully catching me on tour next year at some point, when this winds down and we can do some shows again and be back out there. So yeah, you can find me. My website is QuinnSullivanmusic.com, and you can go on Facebook and follow me at Quinn Sullivan Music, and Instagram at Quinn Sullivan, and Twitter at Quinn Sullivan 1. You'll find me there too. So
you're on top of it.
Yeah.
You got it down.
Yeah, totally.
Sweet. Well, thanks again. I'll let you enjoy the rest of your evening. I know you're a little ahead of me on the East Coast there versus the West Coast where I am. But thanks again.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You got it. Later. So there you go. My conversation with Quinn Sullivan. That was a lot of fun. I could listen to him talk music or perform it probably all day. And it's been fun for me to follow Quinn's career over the last few years. And I really look forward to his new album. Anyway, for now, hope everyone out there is hanging in there during this super fun and wonderful 2020. Please check out Tedeschi Trucks Podcast on Instagram. That's at Tedeschi Trucks Podcast. And remember to tap subscribe or follow on iTunes, Spotify, or via whichever way you listen to this show. But I think that's about all I got for today. I appreciate you guys listening. Thanks as always. Later.